Larry, let's talk a little bit as we see Gate City rushing out on the field. The Devils charge through the paper barrier, now rushing through the tunnel, and it's football time momentarily in Gate City as the Devils have arrived. The Generals will be following them soon. Gate City, again, has never won here at Five Star Stadium. They'd love to come away with a victory tonight. The horse and rider now onto the field for Lee, and the Generals about to take the field to our right. Larry, as we were mentioning just a moment ago, we were 2 weeks into the season now. Let's look at the Highlands District as a whole just a second. Actually, before we do that, Larry, we have the starting lineups. We'll go over those first.
All right, for the visitors, the Blue Devils from Gate City at split end. Matt McClellan, 6'1", 170-pound senior. At left tackle, J.C. Oakes, 6'3", 235-pound junior. At left guard, Matt Johnson, 6 feet, 207 senior. The center for tonight's game, Jason Kilgore, 5'11", 270-pound junior. The right guard, Chad Beasley, 6'4", 200-pound sophomore. The right tackle, Sean Becker, 6 feet, 200-pound senior. The tight end, Wes Ford, 6 feet, 170-pound senior. The quarterback tonight, Josh Shoemaker, 6'3", 180-pound sophomore. The left halfback, Matt Clayball, 5'9", 150-pound senior. The fullback, Kevin Gibson, 5'9", 170-pound senior. The right halfback, Hank Clayball, 5'9", 150-pound senior. The offensive lineup for the Lehigh Generals. The split end, Chester Riggs, 5'11", 155-pound junior. The left tackle, Michael Hughes, 6'1", 282-pound junior. The left guard, Nathaniel Mooney, 5'6", 176-pound senior. The center, Adam Kinzer, 5'9", 206 sophomore. The right guard, Jamie Reynolds, 5'10", 217-pound senior. The right tackle, Kevin Young, 6'2", 198 senior. The tight end, Danny Moore, 6'3", 194-pound senior. The quarterback, Jeremy Pendergraft, 5'9", 160-pound junior. The left halfback, Dana Wilder, 5'10", 170-pound senior. The fullback, Steve Audia, 6 feet, 178-pound senior. And the right halfback, Chris Ricketts, 5'8", 165 senior.
So that's the starting lineups we'll be looking at tonight for Lehigh and for Gate City. Concerning the toss, Lehigh won. They elected to defer to the second half. Gate City will receive the football first. So the Gate City offense looking to improve just a bit. They didn't have a bad game last week against Virginia High, but perhaps they lost a little of the edge they had against Lebanon in what was an impressive opening season showing against the Pioneers. So here come the Devils onto the field now. They'll be receiving the kickoff. Lee will be doing the kicking. We're just about ready for football from Ben-Hur. Back to receive for Gate City, the Clayballs. Matt Claybaugh, number 2, is split to the far side of the field and to the near side, standing just near the hash mark at the 10-yard line, is Hank Claybaugh. He wears number 6. Lehigh, wearing the red jerseys, gold numerals, gold stripes on the sleeves, gold pants with red stripes running down the sides, also red and white socks. The referee giving final instructions to the kicker for Lehigh as we're just about set for Highlands District football. And Larry, this is going to be a kind of a key game in the Highlands standings before it's all over with. 2 of the better teams in the district.
Yes, it is. You know, somebody's got to come out of here with a loss, and that weighs big early in the season. But there's other games to go, and everybody in the district has to play everybody else. So it usually evens out before the year's over.
So we're set. Lehigh had huddled near the football at the 40-yard line. Now they break the huddle as the official says it's time to kick the football and get this Highlands District contest underway from Five Star Stadium in Ben-Hur, Virginia. Doing the kicking for Lehigh, number 14, Randy Cox, and he boots it end over end, hits the ground at the 20, bounces, and Claybaugh takes it at the 14. That's Hank Claybaugh up the middle. He's to the 35, and he's finally hit hard and driven down at the 40-yard line. Gate City will take over with pretty good field position. There to make the tackle for Lehigh, number 3, John Hilburn. Devils have it 1st and 10 at their own 40.
Good run back that time, and good field position for the Devils to start out. Starting out on their own 40 and in good shape. So if they can put a drive together here and put something on the board early, I think it'll be a big big psychological lift for the Blue Devils.
Josh Shoemaker is the quarterback for Gate City. Has a pair of running backs behind him. A wing back set out to his right. Now man in motion is Hank Claybaugh going to the right side. Shoemaker calls the signals, and it's going to be a misdirection play. Give to Matt Claybaugh. Not much room there as he came from the right wing back slot over to the left tackle, and he got hit. Maybe a loss, but not much room there as the entire interior defense for Lee there to make the stop.
Joey Hughes was the first man that hit him for Lee, and Lee's playing almost an 8-man line here, PJ. They playing almost the same defense that Graham plays when they played Lee last week.
We'll call it officially a gain of nothing. If he got anything, it was inches. 2nd down and 10 for Gate City. We've just started here in the first quarter. Pair of backs behind Shoemaker. Same set as before. Split out is to the right side. Hank Claybaugh going in motion. Shoemaker rolling out to the right side. He'll pass. Hank Claybaugh's open, but the pass is overthrown and incomplete. Hank Claybaugh coming in motion, and he went out on a simple flare pattern that Shoemaker missed him over his head. Incomplete.
And had some running room if the pass had been there, and could have brought it in. Had a man out in front to block too, so that could have turned out to have been a real big play if the play had been the pass had been complete.
3rd and 10 for Gate City as the ball rests just over their own 40-yard line. Devils coming out of the huddle. Tied in is set to the near side. Pair of backs again. That's the same formation we've seen. 2 backs and a wing back. Claybaugh in motion, heading to the far sideline. Shoemaker rolling out to his right. Again, the pass. Pressure is on as he fires downfield. Claybaugh's open. He's got it. Bobbles it out of bounds. Incomplete. He had the distance for the first down if he had caught the ball, but it went off his hands. Incomplete, and Gate City will have to punt.
And at that time, the pass was right on the money. Hank just maybe tried to run a little bit before he caught the ball and was right at the first down marker. So that's 3 plays and out, and the Blue Devils are going to have to give up the good field position that they had to start the game.
Joey McBride will come on to punt. 10 minutes and 47 seconds to play first quarter. McBride standing at his own 28-yard line. Shoemaker is the blocking back for him and calls the signals. Lee sends 10 men to the line, so they're coming after him. Joey McBride. Here's a snap. They send all 10. He barely gets the block. The punt was blocked, and it's going to come down at about the 44. Bounces back towards Gate City's end. Devils have to pick it up, and they're going to be thrown for a net loss. The punt was blocked. I didn't catch the number of the general who got it. It came down at the Gate City 45, bounced backwards, and was picked up by a Devil who was tackled at the 38. So a net loss of 2 yards. Not the way Gate City wanted to start the game.
It's sure not, PJ. It's not a real good way to start. I noticed that the snap was just a little bit slow getting back, and then it may have been that way for a couple games, and Lee's picked that up in the films, I'd say.
Generals come. They run the wishbone. They have a fullback and a pair of halfbacks behind him. Wide out is to the left side. Pendergraft, Jeremy Pendergraft, junior quarterback, calls a signal. Last back through the right tackle hole. He gets up to the 36-yard line before being tackled. That was number 16 for Lehigh, Chris Ricketts. He's a halfback. He's a senior. His brother also plays for Lee. And it'll be a gain of about 3 yards for Lee, 2nd and 7.
Beasley and Matt Claybaugh's in on the tackle that time for the Blue Devils.
2nd down 7 for the Generals.
Brian Ricketts and his brother Chris both have 74 yards rushing on the season. They didn't do much rushing last week against Graham. Did a lot of passing, over 240 yards in the air for the Generals as Pendergraft at the line surveying the situation calls a signal. He's going to give to the right halfback. He's got some running room up to the 30, down to the 27-yard line. This time busting through the hole, I believe, was number 10, and that was Brandon Johnson for the Generals. So Johnson taking the football all the way down to the 27-yard line for Lee.
I believe that was number 40, PJ. That's Wilder.
That's right.
Their other halfback. I believe he's a senior too. He's been here a year or two and was one of the starting halfbacks last year. A good-looking running back.
Wilder gets the first down for Lee as again the wishbone moving the ball, and they're in Gate City territory. Wilder the ball again. He's hit after a gain of about 2, and he'll be stopped close to the 25-yard line. Wilder with another gain. How hard is this defense how hard is the wishbone to defense, Larry? You've got a lot of running backs and a lot of options for the team.
Well, you know, everybody I've ever heard talk about it says every man has individual responsibilities. He's got to, especially these linebackers, somebody's got to take one back, somebody's got to take another one, you know, and it really puts pressure on everybody.
Wilder has 10 yards on 2 carries. Here's the play. It's going to come to the near side. Pitch out is to the halfback. He bobbles the football. Looks like Gate City may have recovered it. Let's see. Devils are signaling they have the football as the quarterback pitch bounced off the hands of the halfback, and Gate City has the football. The Devils come up with a key turnover after they had their punt blocked. They come back and take advantage of a poor pitch by Pendergraft. Actually, the ball wasn't that bad. It was just off the hands of the halfback.
Brian Burke recovered that fumble for the Blue Devils. So we exchange turnovers here and lose about, 12, 13 yards on the exchange, but at least we've prevented Lee from scoring here early.
key turnover and has the Devil offense back on the field with Josh Shoemaker, the quarterback, and Matt Claybaugh is the wide receiver to the right side now. I formation behind Shoemaker. He's got a double tight end set. As he calls the play, he'll give to the fullback, Kevin Gibson, up the middle. He's got 2, he's got 3, and he's tackled from behind by the Lee defensive line. Kevin Gibson having a good game last week against Virginia High, picked up 74 yards, and he currently stands 4th in the Highlands District rushing race.
Kevin Gibson's a tough little back. He doesn't have a whole lot of size for a fullback, but he has more quickness than most fullbacks, and he really uses it to his advantage, I think, PJ.
So Gibson has his first carry of the game, picks up 2 yards. It's 2nd down and 8 for the Devils. Just over 8 minutes to play, first quarter of action. Back set side by side behind Shoemaker, wing back and a wide out to his right. As he calls the signals, Generals with 6 men on the front. Shoemaker rolling to the right. He's looking to pass, has a man open this time. Hank Claybaugh has it. First down for the Devils to the 42, and he's out of bounds. That's the play they tried to run 2 previous times. They couldn't get it to go. One time Shoemaker threw it incomplete. The other time off the hands of Claybaugh. Larry, that time they executed it perfectly and got the first down.
Sure did, and we ran that same pass play at Lebanon, ran it again last week, and it's been open every time we've run it, PJ. Just a matter of executing it is the only thing that's kept it from going every time.
Pick of about 12 yards on the play. Gate City has the football at their own 41, marching from right to left. Lee with 6 men on the line of scrimmage as the play is called by Shoemaker. He'll give to Gibson up the middle, fullback to the 45. He's into the 50, to the 45 of Lee, and down to the 44. Big hole that time as he went off right tackle. Kevin Gibson moving the football into the general territory. Gate City has it. First down and 10 at the 44 of Lee.
Tackled by Randy Cox that time. He was the last man that Kevin had to get by before he could go all the way, but Cox grabbed an ankle and held on. Good play by the defensive back from Lee.
It's at the 44 of Lee. Pickup of 15 yards for Kevin Gibson. He has 17 on the game. Back set side by side. Split out this time is to the near side, to the left side for Gate City. They'll give to Hank Claybaugh. Goes off left tackle. He's forward to the 40, pushing a pile of tacklers with him. And Hank Claybaugh with some gutsy running. Larry, we came into the season and, we lost some of our running backs from last year, but the running game has been a real pleasant surprise for Gate City. I think people maybe thought, well, we lost some experience, but Kevin Gibson and the Claybaugh have turned in some good performances this year.
Well, I think one of those reasons that it is so good is because our offensive line has done a real good job blocking. You got guys in the middle that have done a real good job there, and those Blue Devil linemen, offensive linemen, are to be commended, I believe.
We'll call it 2nd and 6. It's more like 2nd and 5.5, but we'll go ahead and say 6 as the ball resting just inside the Lehigh 40-yard line. Nice drive by Gate City, misdirection, and it's Matt Claybaugh going nowhere. He was lined up as the left wing back, came along the right side, took the handoff, and he stopped for minimal gain.
Good play that time by the defensive tackle on that side. Ricky Cox, I believe, was the guy that made the tackle that time. Real interesting story about Ricky Cox, PJ. We found out one day this week he's an orphan and lives in an orphanage and is transported to Stickley'sville by somebody there, and then he catches a bus to Lehigh to play ball. So kind of a little human interest story.
Great perspective for Lee as he's turned into a good player for the Generals. Here's 3rd and 5. Shoemaker on a quick pass over the middle, and it's intercepted by Lee. Picking it off was number 15 for the Generals. That's David Ramey, and he's tackled at the 39-yard line. That play looked like it was in trouble from the beginning. It was going to be a quick pass by Shoemaker over the middle. Took a while to develop, and Ramey stepped up and made the interception.
So Ramey just sat back and watched Shoemaker's eyes. You could see him at the safety spot that time watching the quarterback, and he kind of telegraphed it. He stepped in front of the receiver and picked it up.
So the Generals in what has been a turnover-filled first quarter here at Ben-Hur, 5-Star Stadium. 5 minutes and 40 seconds to play in the first quarter. No score. Generals driving, moving from left to right. Wishbone backfield behind quarterback Jerry Pendergraft. He sets the troops down. He'll give to the right, to the left halfback, and he's not going to get much. He gets up to the 40, and a wall of Devil defenders pushing back there to make the play. Among others, number 54, Matt Johnson, also number 42 for Gate City, and that is Lindsey Fisher.
PJ, we don't have individual tackling statistics, but Matt Johnson's been in on a bushel of tackles in the past couple of games, and he's got to be leading the team in tackles, I would think.
No gain on the play. Actually, they'll give him 1, so it's 2nd down and 9 for Lee. Ball spotted at their own 40-yard line. Pendergraft calling the signals. Wishbone backfield. Wide receiver is to the near side. They pitch out to the left halfback. He goes around the end. He's got to the 45 and wrestled out of bounds. Pickup of about 5 yards for the left halfback. And again, running the football that time, Chris Ricketts.
And Matt Johnson again made a good play. They had us outnumbered on that side of the field, and Johnson did a real good job of lateral pursuit just to grab him and hold him to a minimal gain.
Pair of carries and 6 yards on the ground for Chris Ricketts. 3rd down and 3 for the Generals. Moving from left to right. They're still in their own territory. Second possession of the game for them. First one resulted in a fumble deep in Gate City territory. Pendergraft calling the signals. Devils with 4 players on the front line. Again, it's the quick pitch to the left halfback. He is going to get the first down. He's in the Gate City territory. Down the sidelines. One man can catch him, and nobody's going to get him. Touchdown, Lee. It's Chris Ricketts. They ran the quick pitch around the left end again, and this time Chris Ricketts broke a tackle near the Gate City 40-yard line after he picked up the first down, and he ran untouched to the end zone.
And it looked like that time we had more people over to defend what looked to be the same play than we did the play before, and it turns into a touchdown. So a real good job by Lee to get outside, and they do have some speed.
54 yards on the jaunt by Chris Ricketts, and the Generals have a 6-0 lead with 4 minutes and 3 seconds to play in the first quarter. And now they'll try the point after touchdown. Here's the snap. The kick is up, and let's get the signal. It's good. PAT made by number 3, John Hilburn. Just like that, the Generals convert a Gate City turnover into 7 points.
I wish we had been the team that broke on top first. A lot of times with a young team especially, that can be kind of psychological and get you down. But now we saw the Blue Devils fall behind early at Lebanon, and they fought back in the game, and I expect they will do the same thing here. Blue Devils have had a good chance there with the second possession they had and drove the ball inside Lee territory, and just kind of misplayed a pass play, and the interception took place. Kind of gave Lee a little fire that they didn't have the first time when they had the football.
So Gate City will take the kickoff. They trail 7-0. Pair of possessions for both teams. Gate City went 3 and out in their first possession as the punt was blocked. Second possession, the Blue Devils threw an interception, and Lee takes the football, and they march it in 3 plays. They go from their own 40-yard line, so they march 60 yards in 3 plays, capped off by a 54-yard touchdown run down the far sideline by Chris Ricketts, and the Generals have a 7-0 lead. Teeing up the football for Lehigh is number 14, Randy Cox. And he's just about ready to give the signal. Back again to receive for Gate City. Matt Claybaugh to the left side, and to the right side, or the near side, if you will, is Hank Claybaugh. And here comes the kickoff by Ramey as he boots it from the 40. It's an end-over-end kick going to be taken at about the bounces away from Matt Claybaugh. It was bounced at the 18. He rolls all the way back to the 5 to pick it up, and he's got it and thrown down at the 7-yard line. So Matt Claybaugh was going to take a sinking line drive kickoff, and it bounced away from him, bounced all the way back to the 5-yard line, and Gate City will have it at about their own 6 or 7.
It's a very tough ball to handle. It's almost do or die in that situation. The ball's not going to make it to the end zone, and you got to attempt to make the catch. And he got by Matt, and he had to circle back. So the Devils start out deep in their own territory here.
We'll call it the 6-yard line. So Gate City pinned up against their own end zone. They go with a full house backfield. Fullback is Gibson. Claybaugh set to either side. No wideouts for Gate City. Shoemaker calls the signals, and he's going to give to the right halfback. And moving up to about the 14-yard line, I believe that was the left halfback, and that was Hank Claybaugh.
Pretty good drive, pretty good play, not a drive naturally, to get you out of the shadow you go line there. Picked up about 6 yards on the play, so if you can pick up 6 yards on first down every time, you'll move the football.
We talked about the rushing race in the Highlands District. Kevin Gibson is 4th. Hank Claybaugh is 5th as he's gained over 100 yards in 2 games for the Devils. They go with the full house backfield again, T formation behind quarterback Shoemaker. No wideouts as he calls the signals, and he's going to give to the right halfback this time, and it's Matt Claybaugh up to about the 18-yard line as he's hit by one of the defenders in the secondary. Looked like John Hilbert there to make the tackle, and Gate City is close to a first down.
So the Blue Devils are moving the ball pretty good here. 2 plays and a first down, and that's all we need to do, just keep moving the ball down the field. These young Blue Devils are a pretty tough bunch of cookies, I believe. When they get a little bit of experience under the belt, they're going to be tough, BJ.
12 yards so far on 3 carries for Matt Claybaugh. Again, they go with the T formation behind Shoemaker. Calling the signal. He's going to give to the left halfback, and it's Hank Claybaugh up around the 24 as he came across right tackle. Hank Claybaugh is close to the 24 as there was a host of generals there to make the tackle.
Yeah, Matt Hines was the first man to hit him, one of the defensive guards on this 6-man line here. So he picked up a little on the play, especially for a defensive lineman to have to tackle him. He picked up about 4 or 5 yards on the play.
So it's about 2nd and 6 for Gate City, marching from right to left. Clock showing 2 minutes to play in the first quarter. Devils trail 7-0. Shoemaker barking out the signals. He's going to give to the right halfback up the middle to about the 27-yard line. Looks like that's going to be Matt Claybaugh. So Matt Claybaugh and Hank Claybaugh alternating handoff and running plays on this drive.
Some good blocking on that side of the line by Kilgore, Beasley, and Becker that time. Almost a wedge that gave him some room to run there.
Matt Claybaugh has carried the ball 4 times in the game so far. He's got about 16 yards. It's 3rd and 1 for Gate City. Again, deep in their own territory. Ball resting at the Gate City 27-yard line. Shoemaker with the T formation that Gate City has used solely on this drive. He calls the signals. He's going to get to the left halfback straight up the middle. Close to the first down. He may have it depending upon the spot. Let's see. Running the football that time was Hank Claybaugh, and yes, the Devils have a first down. So the chains move on the far sideline, and Gate City will have a fresh set of downs.
Well, you give the ball to the man that's run the ball the most this year and put him behind one of your best offensive linemen in Matt Johnson, and you should be able to pick up a yard every time.
Devils break the huddle and come out. They've moved the ball pretty well so far tonight against the 6-man line used by the Generals. T formation behind Shoemaker. Again, they go playing power football.
Lee jumps into 8-man line too, PJ.
Shoemaker back to pass, lost it downfield, and it's out of bounds, incomplete. It was intended for McClellan, and Shoemaker was in a hurry, had to dump the football off, and it was actually closer to a Lee player than it was to McClellan, but the ball falls incomplete, and it's 2nd down.
Yeah, Lee really brought both linebackers up and filled the gaps and had an 8-man line, and Shoe didn't have a whole lot of time to get rid of the football. And it was a long pattern, more so, about a 20-yard out pattern, and he had to throw it before really the offensive man broke into the clear.
Shoemaker is 1 for 4 so far in the game. He's got an interception. Remember, he's only a sophomore, taking over for the departed Barry Wolf, who started for 2 years and graduated last season. Shoemaker calling the signals, and it's on the option, gives to the first back through. Actually, he gave it to the fullback, I believe. We'll see. It was one of the Claybaugh.
Yeah, it was Hank that time, I believe.
So Hank Claybaugh running the ball for about a yard or so. It'll be 3rd down and 8.
The defensive tackle on the right side that time grabbed the hold of Hank's shoelaces and held on until he got some help. That was Helms that time, Matt Hines that time on the tackle for Lee.
Claybaugh has ran the ball 7 times in this game. He's got 22 yards. Gate City 3rd and 8, long 3rd down situation. Let's see how the Devils convert. T formation behind Shoemaker. He's rolling out to his right, pitches out. He's got a man, Hank Claybaugh. He's going to have the first down and just a bit more. Nice play that time as Josh Shoemaker ran the option to the right side, pitched out to Hank Claybaugh just as he got hit, and Claybaugh gains enough for the first down.
He got 2 big blocks on the corner, one from his brother Matt and the other one from Matt McClellan, and kind of sealed that defender away from him, gave him the opportunity to pick up the first down.
Gate City has moved the football pretty well. Remember, this drive started at the Blue Devils' 6-yard line, and that's going to be the end of the first quarter. At the end of one period of play, Gate City trails Lehigh 7-0. While we have this moment, we want to say thanks to our advertisers who help us bring the game to you. Gate City Blue Devil football on STE Cablevision Channel 30 is brought to you by State Line Graphics. For business and personal stationery to the best of printing for Gate City and the Weber City and surrounding areas, State Line Graphics is the place to go. By King Ford, offering a full line of new and used cars, now's a great time to visit King Ford. By Roberts Tire and Recapping, specializing in quality tires like Firestone and Michelin. By People's Bank of Gate City, with half-a-day hours on Saturday and a drive-up ATM. By Magnolia Place, where you'll find the perfect gift. Discover the charm of Magnolia Place. By Weber City Drug Center, a dependable source for all your prescription needs. By Nations Bank, with an ATM at the Weber City office and no closing costs on private lines of credit. By Weber City Coin Laundry, Deli and Tanning, full-service laundry, sandwiches, and 6 Wolf tanning beds. By Williams Heating and Air Conditioning. Experience the comfort of a Carrier heat pump today. and by Delegate Terry Kilgore, proud to represent the 1st District in the Virginia Legislature. Blue Devil football is also brought to you by Gate City Drug, by Doc Whitley Nationwide Insurance, by the Campus Drive-In, by Scott Jewelers, by Willis Pharmacy, and by Michael Carrico, candidate for Commonwealth's Attorney. We're ready to start the second quarter. Gate City with the football at its own 45. Shoemaker rolling out to his left. He's going to pass. He's got Hank Claybaugh open at the 50 to the Lee 45, down out of bounds at the Lee 43-yard line. That's been an effective play for Gate City tonight, having Hank Claybaugh come out of the backfield, and Shoemaker hit him on a little flare pass.
Sure has. We send our flanker down a little deeper, about 20 yards deeper on a post pattern, and he kind of clears the area out, and then Matt follows him out of the backfield, and he's been open every time, PJ.
It's a gain of close to 15 yards. We'll call it 13 for Hank Claybaugh, his second catch of the night. And it's 1st down and 10 for Gate City. They have the ball at the Lee 43-yard line. Shoemaker's done a good job at quarterback tonight as he has a team formation behind him. Going to give to the right halfback. Matt Claybaugh is hitting the backfield, breaks a tackle. He's in Lee territory to the 30, to the 25, and a touchdown-saving tackle made by David Ramey, the senior defensive back. If Ramey had not been there, it would have been clear sailing to the end zone for Matt Claybaugh.
Yeah, Matt hadn't run the football as much as his brother this year, but he did a heck of a job that time because, like you said, he was stopped at the line of scrimmage and bounced off a couple people and picked up another 10 to 15 yards on the play.
7th time Matt Claybaugh has run the football, and this time he moves it over 20 yards, give him 22, and he's got about 45 in the game. 7 carries, 45 yards rushing for Matt Claybaugh. He has the 1st down, and Gate City knocking on the door of the Lee end zone. Shoemaker with a double tight end set, T formation behind him. He's going to give to the fullback. Kevin Gibson's got 10, and he's up to about the 12-yard line, and he is close to another 1st down for Gate City.
I like the way Gibson came through the line that time, PJ. You had both hands wrapped around the ball because running in the middle of the field, you're probably going to get hit by a linebacker and a safety too, so he did a good job and did take a pretty good hit to hold on to the football.
He got about 9, so it's 2nd and 1, and Kevin Gibson showing some durability. Timeout is called by Lee. Gate City has moved the football effectively against the Generals on this drive. They started back in the 1st quarter at their own 6-yard line. Hank Claybaugh and Matt Claybaugh have been the real keys to this drive as they have alternated running the football. That was the first time Kevin Gibson has touched the football on the drive, and I think Alan Kinzer calling timeout because he didn't like the way his defense was being pushed around.
Well, our offensive line has done a real good job blocking all night. We've got people not only doing a job at the line of scrimmage, but are downfield blocking linebackers like you're supposed to on running plays. And I'm not so sure this is not one of the best offensive lines that I've seen for downfield blocking in quite a while at Gate City. They've done a real good job in every game we've played so far, I think. And so far, you know, Lee hadn't stopped us as much as we've stopped ourselves.
Larry, it seems like Gate City's offensive line has the mobility to where they can get to the point they need to make the block. A lot of time, if you've got a big lineman, he'll have a hard time getting to where he's supposed to be. But that's not the case with Gate City. They have the quickness to get where they need to make the block.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a whole lot of it. You got Johnson and Beasley in there that are pretty good-sized people, but not real big and have pretty good speed. They can't get downfield, along with Oaks and Kilgore and Becker. So they do a real good job with their offensive line, I think.
Timeout is over as both coaches head back to the sideline. Nick Colabro going back to the far sideline, and Josh Shoemaker under center with a 2nd and 1 situation for Gate City. The ball resting at the Lee 12-yard line, and it's going to be to the left halfback. Hank Claybaugh is the 1st down as he's inside the 10-yard line at the center of the field. Devils will move the chains again, and Hank Claybaugh running out of the T formation. It's been very successful on this drive for Gate City.
It has, and we've run a couple little traps in the middle of the field and trapped our linebacker, and that's what's opened it up once we get through the line of scrimmage. And as long as they keep blocking and running the ball like this and taking care of the ball, I believe they're going to be all right against Lee.
So it's at the General 6-yard line, and Gate City with a T formation. They've used it to perfection on this drive. Lee trying to plug the holes on defense. Shoemaker calling the signals, and he's going to give to Matt Claybaugh up to around the 4-yard line. He went to the left side, and he stopped about 4 yards short of the end zone.
Good play that time by the cornerback on the Lee's right side. That's David Ramey, and he came up and probably saved a touchdown. He closed the play down, and Blue Devils in pretty good shape, PJ. Looks like a ball maybe around the 2. So Blue Devils with 2nd and goal here at the 2 may be in real good shape if they hold on to the football.
Matt Claybaugh has 47 yards rushing, many of them on this drive. Gate City's looked good with the running game. They're using 2 tight ends to help out with the blocking. 3 backs behind Shoemaker. Gives to the fullback, Kevin Gibson. He's up to the 1. He's very close, and he's not going to get in. Tackled by number 15, David Ramey.
Ramey closed again from his cornerback position on this side, and linebacker on the same side had done a pretty good job of slowing the play down, Kevin Young. He's one of the best, one of their top defensive people coming back from last year's team, and they look for a lot of things out of him at the linebacker spot.
3rd and goal with the football resting at about the half-yard line. So a half-yard separating Gate City from the general end zone. Blue Devils wearing the white jerseys, white pants, blue numerals. Shoemaker, the sophomore quarterback, trying to direct a scoring drive. He's a half-yard away, calling the signals behind center Jason Kilgore. He takes a snap, gives to Kevin Gibson, fullback, scores for Gate City. Touchdown, Blue Devils.
Ran in behind Matt Johnson that time, and J.C. Oaks on that left side, and they pushed the defensive line back into the end zone a yard or 2, and all Matt had to do was get on their hip and just ride them in.
15-play drive by Gate City. Moved the ball 94 yards, spanning the latter half of the first quarter and the first part of the second quarter. We're standing at 9 minutes and 3 seconds to play. Matt McClellan is on to try the point after touchdown kick. If he makes it, we're tied. The snap is up, kick is up, and it's going to be good. We're tied 7-7 in the second quarter here at Ben-Hur.
So we were worried early about what the Young Devils might do when Lee jumped out on top. They showed us what they do. They got a lot of heart. Took the ball and drove it almost the length of the field and scored. And that's one thing that's really impressed me about this bunch of young men. They don't seem to get down. They don't seem to get too high, but they don't seem to get down either. And that's kind of the way Coach Colabro's always approached his football team. He says if you get too high, you got too far to fall the next week. And it's a good way to do it. If you can operate out of the same momentum and put forth the same effort every week, then other people's got to come up to meet you to do it.
That was a time-consuming drive, over 7 minutes taken off the clock by Gate City, 15 plays, 94 yards. That's the kind of drive you need to take the momentum away from the other team when you've had a big turnover early.
Sure is, and I thought we responded well. I think we're pretty well matched out here at PJ. Pendergraft, of course, has the experience on our quarterback, but I'm not so sure that their receivers are any better than ours or their speed's any better than ours. And right now, I think our offensive line is maybe a little bit better at the line of scrimmage than theirs has been on us.
Gate City fell behind in the first game of the season to Lebanon. They bounced back. Last week, they had their way early with Virginia High, scoring the only 2 touchdowns of the game. They fell behind early 7-0 in the first quarter on a 54-yard run by Ricketts of Lee. They bounced back, and now we're tied 7-7. Remember, Gate City 1-0 in the Highlands District. They beat Virginia High last week. If they could get the win here, which would be their first at Five Star Stadium, it would be a big momentum builder in the Highlands District race. Here's McClellan with the kickoff. He boots it deep, and it's going to go all the way back to the end zone, bounces once in the checkerboard area, and it will be called a touchback.
Tell you what, there's a few colleges would like to have this young man. And by the way, PJ, he does have an official visit this Saturday to the University of Virginia. He's been invited up, and it is, I'm sure, an official visit. So that's only one of many trips that I think he'll get. We talked to Coach Colabro about that yesterday. It's very few colleges give full scholarships for kickers. They like to see you walk on and earn a scholarship, but at least UVA has invited him up this weekend.
He was the best kicker in Southwest Virginia last year, and he's on pace to do the same this season. Wishbone back on the field as the Generals offense has taken the ball at the 20-yard line. Wide receiver is to the right side for Pendergraft. He's going to give to the fullback on a misdirection play. Actually, it was the halfback. Fooled me. Not much gain there for the halfback as the tackle made by, I believe, number 63 for Gate City. That was Ricky Clendenin.
I believe it was Beasley.
Beasley. So Beasley made the play. Hard to see the numbers from up here.
It is, PJ. Beasley, matter of fact, if Beasley hadn't made the tackle, he might still be running because he was just about to break in the open field on the wide side of the field.
Been a while since the Generals have touched the football. As we said, Gate City had it the last 7 minutes. So Lee back on the field now with 2nd down and 9 to go. And a flag drop. Maybe too much time taken by the Generals. Let's see. Was thrown by the line judge on the far side. We'll check out the infraction.
Say somebody may have violated the neutral zone there.
Don't believe the 30-second clock had expired because the Generals were pretty quick to get back up to the line. The referee is coming to the near side, so we'll get an official indication on the play.
The way he's moving the football, PJ, it's kind of like the center may have done something with the ball that was illegal, which would have caused an illegal procedure play.
That may be the call. It is an illegal procedure, and Larry, I think you made a great call. The center might have picked the ball up and moved it. Once the center picks the ball up initially and sets, then he's not supposed to move the football again. And if he picks it up off the ground, that's a violation. That may be what we just saw. Moves the Generals back 5 yards. It's going to be 2nd down and 13. Ball resting at the Generals' 17-yard line. Pendergraft slow to go under center, now calling a long delayed count. He's going to give to one of the halfbacks who's up to about the 20-yard line to the 22, and that's where Gate City will stop the play.
Benny Wolf with a big hit from his right linebacker spot that time. We're bunching our linebackers a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, which means that our defensive backs, if they break our early front there, we'll have some real tackling to do because it'll be one-on-one with the back coming out of the backfield.
Wilder on the carry, and it's going to be 3rd down for Lehigh. 3rd and 7. Clock showing 7 minutes and 48 seconds. Gate City with 4 down linemen and a linebacker split out to the left side of the Devil defense. Pendergraft calling the signal. He runs the option. He's going to pitch. Now keeps it himself, turns it up, and he's hit hard from behind at the 27-yard line, about 2 yards short of the 1st down. It'll be 4th and punting time for the Generals.
Matt Johnson almost made a real big play by tackling him in his own backfield, but his momentum was going the other way, and the Devils still held him short of the 1st down.
First carry of the game for Pendergraft, as he's been giving to the halfbacks and the fullback also. Now the Generals will punt, and on to do the kicking chores is number 15, David Ramey. Back to receive for Gate City, the ever-deadly Claybaugh twins, Matt Claybaugh, number 2, and Hank Claybaugh. Kick is spiral high, end over end, and it's going down to the 30. Fair catch, and it's fumbled. Hank Claybaugh fumbled the football at the 30 and recovered it at the 31-yard line. He was trying to make what looked like an over-the-shoulder catch, and it bounced, went right through his hands, bounced off his chest, and went down to the 30, and he was quick to pick it up, and Gate City will take over at their own 31.
They did a good job getting back to the football because Lee had a couple men really moving down the field almost only about 5 yards away from the football by the time Hank jumped on it. So almost another turnover. So far, we've out-turnovered them 2-1.
Fumbles had been a big problem for Gate City. They've had 7 in their first 2 games. They lost 3 of those. They lost 2 of their 3 against Lebanon. Now Shoemaker under center, pair of backs behind him, wing back set to his left. He's going to roll to his left, a pass looking. He's got a man open, and he throws by Hank Claybaugh. The pass was short as Hank Claybaugh came out of the backfield from his wing back position. That's a play they tried to run many times tonight.
And I believe the safety may have picked up a key that time. He kind of sat back and let the cornerback on that side, the weak side of the Devils offense, pick up the first man out, and the safety laid back and was taking the man coming out of the backfield.
2 for 6 for Josh Shoemaker so far. We're 6 minutes and 34 seconds away from halftime. The sophomore quarterback at the line, pair of backs split out side by side behind him, and a pair of wideouts to each side. Calling the signal. He's got it tied in to the right side. Now here's the quick pass to Matt Claybaugh. Hit as he catches the ball and driven out of bounds at the 35-yard line. Nice catch by Matt Claybaugh. He knew he was going to get hit by Ramey as soon as he caught it. He held on, and the Devils pick up 5.
Yeah, he did a good job. Shoes just seems like about a half count late throwing the football. That play was pretty well defended by one of the Ricketts twins that time, and another split second, he could break in front and take that ball the other way. But we completed it, picked up some yardage, and now we have 3rd and about 7.
3rd and a long 7 for Gate City. Pair of backs behind Shoemaker. They're split, and a wide out is Matt Claybaugh to the right side. Shoemaker looking at him. Now Claybaugh in motion. They're going to run the option to this side. He pitches to Hank Claybaugh. Hank Claybaugh to about the 40, and he's met by a host of Generals and driven back, but his forward progress got him to the 41. Still about 1.5 yards short of the 1st down.
Yeah, the Lee sideline was crying for a holding call on this side, but it looked to be a good block, and the official didn't pull the flag, so the Devils going to have to punt here, but at least they beat up a little bit of clock here, PJ.
4th and about 1 yard short, and it looks like Gate City is going to punt. Joey McBride dropping back to the 28-yard line. To receive for Lee, they have 3 players back. One is an up back and a pair of receivers. Let's see if we can identify one of the numbers on them. As Gate City having now finally getting 11 people on the field. They only had 10 men. Now they get everybody on there. Here's the snap. McBrien, who had his last punt block, gets this one off cleanly, and it goes down to about the 35. Bounces, picked up at the 28, now up to the 37, probably the 38-yard line. On the return for Lee was number 16, Chris Ricketts. Generals have the football, first and 10 at their own 38.
And Matt McClellan did a good job to get downfield and make the tackle. That ball didn't have a whole lot of height on it and was very returnable, and also had interference out in front of him. But McClellan avoided the interference and made the tackle and held him to a minimal gain on the punt.
Matt McClellan had a big play on special teams last week when he put a tremendous bone-jarring hit on Earl Crawford, forced a fumble, and Gate City would score one play later. Now the Generals are on the field with their offense at their own 39-yard line. Misdirection on the wishbone, and the back is hit hard and dropped for a loss by Matt Johnson. Running the football was Wilder. Matt Johnson wasn't fooled by the misdirection, and he made the play for a loss.
You're right, PJ, and they've run a lot of misdirection at us tonight so far. Just about every play they've run really has been misdirection, but Johnson that time seemed to be keying on Wilder, and he came through the line of scrimmage there pretty quick and made the tackle in the backfield.
Fourth carry of the night for Wilder, and it results in negative yardage on the play. Lee moves back a yard. It's 2nd and 11 for the Generals. 4 minutes and 30 seconds to play before halftime. Pendergraft, the quarterback, calling the signals. It's going to be a quick pitch to the left halfback, and he moves up to the 40. He's going to be to the 45, into Gate City territory. 45, 40, yanked down at the 37-yard line. Big run that time by number 16 of the Generals, and that's Chris Ricketts.
The Devils smelled that play too. They shot their linebackers on that side, shot both Beasley, I believe, and Johnson, and they got blocked behind the line of scrimmage, which opened the play up for Lee to run outside.
Big gain for Ricketts on the play. He moved the football all the way from the Lee 38 to the Gate City 38. 24-yard gain for the Generals as Pendergraft calls the signals with 4 minutes to play before halftime. We're tied 7-7. Lee took the lead early. Gate City rebounded with a touchdown. Here's the wishbone draw, and going nowhere. It looks like the right halfback of the Generals, and that's number 40, Wilder.
Johnson and Benny Wolf had time again to seal off that run. I'm surprised that they haven't run any just regular prayer option sweep side of this wishbone to one side or the other. Everything's been misdirection, but I'd say before the night's over, we're going to see that, PJ.
That's something that changed. When Don Williams was the coach here and at Pennington, they would run the Oklahoma-style wishbone. They would take the ball and give it to the fullback a lot and run the option. But this time, they've got Alan Kinzer as head coach. He's resorted to some of the trick plays, and he likes to go with the passing game a lot. This is the first time we've seen a double back set behind Pendergraft. He's going to give to the left back. He's forward across the 40 up to the 38. On the play, let's see where he got. As the running back that time getting up slowly for the Generals was number 22, and that's Brian Ricketts.
And Brian Burke made the tackle for the Blue Devils. So he held him at a minimal gain also on that play. The Generals have done a little bit better running outside than they have in the middle of our line. Our defensive line and the linebackers done a pretty good job so far.
Ball is at the 34 of Gate City. It's a 3rd down and 8 play, and Ricketts again has the two backs behind him. This is a set we saw at Lebanon a lot. They have two wideouts to the left side. Ricketts is going to go with a quick pass over the middle. It's intercepted by Gate City. Matt Claiborne has it. He's down to the 25 and tackled at the 30. Going to be at the 30, a nice play, and that's almost similar to what we saw Lee pick off a pass against Gate City. Josh Shoemaker dropped back. That time it was Jeremy Pendergraft dropping back. Nice read by Matt Claiborne, the senior.
Yeah, he did the same thing. He just watched Pendergraft's eyes, and Pendergraft really had the man open if he throws the ball on the money, but he kind of led him a little bit too much right into Matt's hand.
With 2 minutes and 22 seconds to play before halftime, Gate City has the football as a result of the turnover.
Was that their first pass, BJ?
I believe that was. First time that Pendergraft has gone to the air in this game. He threw for over 240 yards last week. Here's Shoemaker with a T formation behind him. He gets to Gibson, the fullback, across left tackle. Maybe a gain of 1 as the interior line of Lee there to make the tackle.
A good tackle that time by Ricky Cox on the at the right defensive tackle spot.
Clock still turning. We're under 2 minutes before halftime. We're tied at 7. Lee driving for what looked like there's going to be a potential scoring situation, throwing the interception, and now Gate City moving from left to right. The Devils have used the T formation and the double tight end set of predominantly most of the first half. Now Shoemaker calling the signals, looking at a six-man line. He whirls around. He's dropping back to pass, looking at downfield. He's got a man wide open. McClellan has it at the 50 to the 45, and he's out of bounds at the 42-yard line. Matt McClellan got behind the linebackers and took a beautiful pass from Josh Shoemaker into general territory.
Same play we've run all game, except we didn't throw to the short man out of the backfield. They came up to honor him, and we hit our wide receiver. Blue Devils here have a chance to score with 1:20 to go before halftime.
Ball is at the 44, 43-yard line of Lee. Gate City with two backs behind Shoemaker. That's Gibson, and it also looks like Hank Claybaugh. Matt Claybaugh split out to this side, Matt McClellan to the far side. Shoemaker calling the signals, back to pass, good protection. He pump fakes, looks downfield, now rush, fires, he's got a man open, Matt Claybaugh, and the ball is off his helmet. He was pushed out of bounds, and pass interference called on number 22 of the Generals. That's Brian Ricketts, a very unpopular call with the General fans, but he pushed Matt Claybaugh out of bounds as the pass was just about to reach him.
Yeah, that was obvious. I don't see anybody could boo that call, but I'm not so sure he'd been able to catch the football, PJ. It was leading him out of bounds. I don't know where he could have come down with it, but it's a break for the Blue Devils.
So the clock is stopped with 1 minute and 12 seconds. Gate City will naturally take the penalty, and it will march them even further into Lehigh territory. So Coach Nick Colabro, seeing his troops fall behind 7-0 early, would like nothing more than tack on another score just before halftime. As the chains now move along the far sideline, we'll determine where they put the ball down. It's at the 28-yard line of Lee. So with the pass interference call late in the first half, Gate City marching ever so close to the score. They now have the football at the general 28-yard line. Shoemaker with a pair of backs and a pair of wideouts, one to each side, calling the signal against a six-man line. And the sophomore will hand off up the middle. Kevin Gibson, the fullback, is up to about the 26-yard line. As the clock turns, we're going to go under 1 minute.
I believe the Blue Devils are going to call a timeout here to try to save as much clock as they can. We did a good job that time with that formation, spread them out all over the field. Our defensive corners were spread out inside the boundaries on both sides, or outside the boundaries. And you kind of figure you might punch a little run and play in there to the fullback straight up the middle after you got them spread out like that. But Lee did a good job to hold us to a 2-yard gain.
The Generals last week against what is a traditionally very strong running team in Graham gave up over 338 yards on the ground. The G-men were running the ball all night, but it was still a close game thanks to the passing of Jeremy Pendergraft. Well, tonight Pendergraft has tried only one pass. That was incomplete, and they've given up a lot of yardage on the ground to the Devils.
You know, Coach Colabro, we talked about this wishbone offense yesterday, and you and I talked about it on the way up. You don't necessarily have to throw 15 to 20 times out of this wishbone offense, but usually when you do throw, you've run the ball so many times that the defense is honoring the run, and you usually hit a big pass play out of it. So some of his over 400 yards in passing plays has come on big plays, 60 to 70-yard touchdown pass completion.
Last week he had two receivers with over 100 yards. So a big game last week for Jeremy Pendergraft, and as we said, he runs the wishbone offense and runs a variation of it, and as he will pass a lot. Now the teams break the huddles. We are again 1 minute and 1 second away from halftime. Shoemaker with a pair of backs behind him. This time it's a tight end to this side, and one split out is Matt Claybaugh. Shoemaker on a quick pass, looking, fires over the middle, over the head, and incomplete. It was intended for number 4, Matt McClellan, who had run a slant pattern over the middle, and Shoemaker's pass just a bit high.
Yeah, and he was just a little bit late throwing the ball. He was in the open that a count or two earlier there, and the tight end also broke in behind open on a hook on a post pattern right after that, but he didn't have time to see him. So you know, it's kind of hard to throw the ball over the middle down here because it's awful easy to get it picked off, but that play, if it was run correctly, would probably click.
3rd down and 8 for Gate City. 56 seconds left in the second quarter. This time the Devils with two backs set side by side and a wing back to the left side. Hank Claybaugh going in motion to the left. Shoemaker rolling out that way. He's got good protection. Now he's got to hurry. He's at the 30. He lost it toward the end zone. Man open. Caught. Is it good? Touchdown, Gate City. Great play that time by number 6. Was it Hank Claybaugh?
No, it was Matt.
It was Matt Claybaugh, number 2, as he streaked toward the corner of the end zone. Larry, he was all alone out there. Nobody picked him up.
I thought the right defensive outside linebacker was going to get to Shoemaker before he had time to throw the ball, but once he looked up and spotted Claybaugh, all he did was laid the ball up for him to run under. That was a well-thrown pass.
Matt McClellan on for the PAT. Gage City leads it 13-7, and McClellan can put him up 14-7 if he makes the kick. He's perfect on the year so far. Shoemaker, who just threw the touchdown pass, will do the holding. Here's the snap, and the kick is up. Let's see, is it good? It is. The official signal counted, and Gage City leads 14-7.
A good drive again by the Blue Devils that time. They not only ran the ball pretty good, but they mixed in 3 or 4 passing plays and took advantage of the one pass interference call against Lee. But that's a pretty good drive, and the Blue Devils look pretty sharp, I think, tonight. Maybe sharper than any game so far.
Larry, something that I think is really impressive about the Blue Devil backs, Hank and Matt Claybaugh, Kevin Gibson, is their ability to come out of the backfield and catch the ball. When you've got a running back, you can defend against the run, but the Claybaugh make you defend against so much more, including potential receivers.
Sure do. And the Devils did something that time they hadn't done so far in this game. They flooded that one zone by putting Matt Claybaugh over here in motion that time, going to his left side. I believe it was Matt. I may be wrong. Maybe in Hank it went in motion, but they put one extra receiver over there that they hadn't had before, and that left a man open. Matt open down there for the touchdown.
Gate City put together a 15-play drive for their first score of the game. That time, they took advantage of the interception by Matt Claybaugh, moved the football on 7 plays, and scored with 47 seconds left in the second quarter. 14-7, Gate City leads it over Lee. The Generals jumped out on top 7-0, and Gate City has put together a pair of scores, and now they lead 14-7. And Matt McClellan is set to do the kicking chores. 3 players back to receive for the Generals. In the middle of the field for Lee is number 10, Brandon Johnson, and the Ricketts are on either side of him. Here's McClellan's kick. This time it's not as deep as before. Bounces at the 12-yard line, and it's going to roll into the end zone. Wilder had a chance to get it, but he decided to let it go all the way back into the checkered board painted end zone, and the Generals will have it 1st and 10 on their own 20.
The result was the same. The kick didn't look the same, but the result was the same. He got it in the end zone and no run back, and a good job that time by McClellan again. He just has a terrific leg for a young high school senior, I think.
He's improved each of his years on the varsity, starting from his freshman year on, and he's become probably the premier kicker in all of Southwest Virginia. Here are the Generals on offense with a wide receiver to the right side. Pendergraft dropping back the pass, and he's sacked. He fumbled the football. Let's see, Gate City comes up with it, and they're going to rumble in for the score. If we can tell which devil it was.
Larry Jackson.
Larry Jackson with a tremendous play from his defensive line position. Pendergraft was hit at about the 7-yard line. He fumbled the ball. Jackson picked it up, and he takes it in for the score. What a change of pace this has been. Lee led 7-0. Gate City puts a pair of touchdowns on the board as a result of turnovers.
And I'll tell you something else. Pendergraft looks a little shaken up. He had to be helped up by his own players, and kind of holding his head coming off like maybe he might have a slight concussion or something.
He was hit hard as the Gate City Devils were in there in a hurry. No time at all for Pendergraft to set up. Here's McClellan trying the kick. It's up, and it is good. Gate City 21, Lee 7. The Blue Devils have put touchdowns on the board on 2 consecutive plays. And with 38 seconds left before halftime, they've opened up a 14-point cushion on the Generals of Lee.
Any defensive lineman's dream is to pick up a ball and run it into the end zone, you know. And Larry Jackson is more of the halfback type than he is a defensive tackle. But Coach Colabro stuck him in there at the 11th game, and I believe he's done a pretty good job. And he showed his speed there by being able to pick that thing up. The only thing that bothered me, I saw him raise the ball above his head, and that, you know, they could call that taunting, I guess. You know, taunting's a thing that they really crack down on everywhere anymore, except in the pros where they ought to.
McClellan will be on to do the kicking again with 38 seconds before halftime. Gate City won the game last year at Legion Field between these two schools. The final score was 21-0. It's not often that you can shut out a Lee High School team, traditionally known for great offense, but last year was a rebuilding season. In the first year under Alan Kinzer, they went 6-6, including a win and a loss in the playoffs. This year they're 1-1, so Kinzer's career record stands at 7-7. Gate City set to kick off. Lee with 3 players back to receive. Wilder is the middleman. He's got Ricketts on one side. And actually, I believe he's got one on both sides. Here's McClellan doing the kicking. It's a high kick, and Wilder's going to take it in the end zone. He tries to run it out, but it's going to be a touchback. So McClellan on 3 consecutive kickoffs has put it in the end zone for a touchback, showing off his strong leg. The Generals coming out to take it where they had it moments before at the 20.
And that's a good weapon. If you can put it back there, they won't let you run it out. One thing I liked that time, PJ, I looked across the way at the Gate City fans, and they all came to the feet on the kickoff. So our fans are not only, our players are not only showing emotion, but our fans are, and we need that.
Single setback behind Pendergraft. He rolls out. Now he's going to his left, looking downfield. He tucks it under, and he's hit and tapped out of bounds. Wasn't a hard hit, but was enough to make him lose his balance and fall out of bounds.
I thought for a second our defensive tackle, which might have been Jackson on that side, may have jumped off sides, but no flag and no harm, no foul.
Maybe he didn't get out of bounds. The clock's still running. Looked like he had tumbled out of bounds from here, but apparently he was just short of the sideline. 13 seconds to go before halftime.
Play ball. I don't know which one it is. Kelly Gibson. Matt McClellan. Bo Hartsock. I didn't know what to say power, but Bo Hartsock. Matt Johnson. Mr. Daly. David Burke, who I always call Man Low. And the other play ball.
Yards in passing, I believe. So, you know, they can get back in the ball game real quick if they start moving the ball, mixing up their plays a little bit with their running and their good passing game. The Blue Devils just have to do the same thing they've done the first half. When they get an opportunity to take the football, they need to keep one of those ground control, clock-eating drives that just keeps the ball away from Lee as much as possible and hopefully put a score on the end at the end of that drive.
That's something we saw in the one drive in particular in the first half. It was a 15-play, 7-minute, 94-yard drive. If you're a fan of classic grinded-out football, you would have had a good time watching that. It was a double tight-end set with a T formation the entire drive, and Gate City took it in for the touchdown. Again, we're waiting for Lee to return to the field. Gate City is standing on the far sidelines. Their captains are ready to go to the center of the field. We're just waiting on the Generals to return.
PJ, I saw something there I don't know that I've ever seen at a football game before. They had all the officials huddled up at the almost at midfield, and somebody from Lee took a picture of them. Most of the time you won't see anything like that happen, not as a group, but we've got Mr. Kelly here that's the referee tonight, and a couple of Lee County boys in this crew, and Jeff Day and Bill McDavid, and one Gate City boy, Robbie Perry, is also in the crew. So, and Arliss Peace is the other member of that crew. So they've had their picture taken. We missed them on TV, so they ought to be happy, aren't they?
So maybe they can find their way into a local newspaper or a local lineup or something. Their picture will be somewhere around the area in the coming week. Great crew tonight. Has a lot of experience among those officials. And we've seen some pretty good officiating this year.
I think, I think the Southwest area down here under Charlie Harkins, he's the commissioner, has a good group of officials, especially in football. And we don't, it's a pretty tight-knit bunch of people. You've got people that call football that usually call basketball and baseball and everything. And Charlie does a good job running the show. And we, you know, we're a little more than partial, I guess, by doing what we do here for Channel 30 and for Gate City. But you've got to give these people credit. It's not an easy job to go out there on the field and to be an official. A lot of people don't understand that, but it's not an easy job.
Team captains are meeting at the 50-yard line in the middle of the field. For Lehigh, it's number 22, Brian Ricketts, and also number 67 of the Generals, that's Nathaniel Mooney. For Gate City, it was number 23, and that's Bo Hartsock.
Bo was one of Mr. Newton's guests yesterday on the player profile. Bo and Louis Bo were the two seniors that he interviewed yesterday, and I didn't. I was talking to Coach Colbro at the time trying to find out about changes, but both of them seem to be well-versed, and I'm sure with Chuck handling that, they did a real good job.
The Generals have finally arrived at Five Star Stadium for the second half, waiting for the decision of who will take the ball in the second half. Now they come onto the field. We're just about set for the beginning of the third quarter. Gate City leads Lehigh 21-7. The Devils in search of their first ever victory at Five Star Stadium. They've been winless in their previous 2 trips to Ben-Hur, the last time coming in 1992. Looks like Gate City will be kicking as Matt McClellan has the football resting on a tee at the 40-yard line, center of the field. And the Generals come out and they'll be receiving. This has taken an awful long time to get this second half underway. Gate City's been on the field for almost 5 minutes now, and Lee has just arrived within the last minute. And the Generals break their huddle. Gate City should be doing so in a moment. We're ready for the final 24 minutes of football from Ben-Hur's Five Star Stadium. It's Lehigh and Gate City. Devils lead at 21-7. And Matt McClellan, a likely choice for all Southwest Virginia honors at kicking tours, will do the booting, and back to receive in the center of the field for Lee is Wilder. McClellan gets off another deep kick, spiral in over in. It's going to drive Wilder back to the end zone. Touchback. 4 in a row for Matt McClellan. He's been able to drive into the checkerboard end zone. That time he did it going from left to right. And Larry, that gives a tremendous advantage to the defense, not knowing that you're going to be, or knowing that you're not going to have to back all the way up to the 40 or 50-yard line. Field position really plays a key role for the defense.
Well, it sure does. And, you know, the professionals even moved their kicking. You know, they kick off 5 yards deeper this year than they used to, just for the same reason. There was no run back.
Lehigh has it 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line. The wishbone not very effective in the first half. Pendergraft under center, going to give to the left halfback. He's hit from the side and dropped after a 2-yard loss. He came from the right side, actually, and came across left tackle. Gain of about 3 on the carry.
Benny Wolf in on the play that time for the Blue Devils. Was one of the Blue Devil tacklers. So they kind of started out running the same way they did the first half. They had a little misdirection back to their weak side, away from their unbalanced line. The weak side's on their left side here.
Gain of 3, and the ball moved up to the 23-yard line. 2nd down and 7 for the Generals. They send a split out and a flanker to the left side, calling the signal with a tight end to the right side. It's a quick pitch around the right end. Wilder has the ball. He's to the 30, breaks a tackle, 35, breaks another to the 40, finally hit and knocked down at the 43-yard line. Lehigh's number 40, Dana Wilder, with a 23-yard gallop, and Lee moving the football for a 1st down.
And Mr. Housewright was in one of the tacklers that time for the Blue Devils from his linebacker spot. You could kind of see that play coming, BJ. They had us spread out on this side and had us outnumbered on the other side, and they ran away from our defensive formation and got a big gain.
Generals reverse the formation. The wideouts are to the right side. Tight end is to this side. Calling the signals. Pendergraft, quick pitch to this side. Running back trying to break through. It's Ricketts, and he's dragged down by his ankles by Hank Claybaugh. Maybe a loss of 1 on the play. Great job by Claybaugh, the senior, from his secondary position.
And a real good job of Benny Wolf. He fought off the interference and strung the play out until Claybaugh could get here and make the tackle.
They'll say no gain. He got back barely to the line of scrimmage at the 43. 2nd down and 10 with 10 minutes and 24 seconds to play. 3rd quarter from Five Star Stadium. 21-7, Gate City leads. A pair of scores resulting from Lehigh turnovers near the end of the 1st quarter, and the Devils took a 14-point cushion into halftime. 2 backs set behind the quarterback, Pendergraft. Straight drop back, looking to pass. Not much pressure now, rolling. He's pressured, fires downfield. Good coverage, and the pass is incomplete. Knocked away at the last minute by number 11 for Gate City, Joey McBryant. He was all over the intended receiver for the Generals. Looked like maybe number 40, or check that, it was number 15, David Ramey, the split end. Nice job of defense by McBryant.
Yeah, McBryant, I thought, almost went for the interception that time, and the ball almost, went through his hands, and the receiver almost made a spectacular catch.
3rd down and 10. Generals with their own 43 as the line of scrimmage, moving from right to left. They go with 2 backs behind Pendergraft. Pair of split outs to the right side. They have a fullback and then a back set behind the left guard. They pitch out to that back. He's coming around the left side. He's in trouble. cuts it forward to the 47 and is hit hard from the side at the 49. Running the ball was number 16, Chris Ricketts. He falls about 4 yards short of the first down, and the punting team comes on for Lee.
Penny Wolf did another good job of stringing it out until Joel Stacy and Brian Burke and Matt Johnson could get there and make the tackle. So good job defensively that time by the Blue Devils.
It's a punt for Lee. Here's the punt, and it's not a very good one as it wobbles. Going to go to the 15, rolling out of bounds at about the 12. The Clayballs were back to receive, and the punt by, looked like number 14, Randy Cox, rolls out of bounds, gets a nice roll and bounce, and it pins the Devils deep in their own territory at the 12.5-yard line.
Blue Devils did what they had to do. They held Lee on this first possession, even though they had one big play. Now, if they can do what we talked about at halftime, put together one of those 7-8 minute drives with a touchdown on the other end, they could be in good shape for tonight.
The T formation worked so well for Gate City in the first half. The Devils use it again with a pair of tight ends set on either side. Shoemaker calls the signals, fullback up the middle. Kevin Gibson churning for yardage close to the 15. Picks up close to 2 yards. Kevin Gibson just keeping the legs moving, enabled him to pick up probably an extra yard.
And Lee stacking the line. They expecting us to run, and we're in an 8-man line, and Kevin Gibson was lucky to get 3 yards on that play.
2nd and 8 for Gage City at our own 14-yard line. Actually, it's 14.5, but we'll say the 14. And as Larry said, the Generals have bunched the defense up. They have 6 down linemen and 2 linebackers playing close to the line. Shoemaker with the T formation, fullback, and a pair of halfbacks. He's going to give to the fullback, off right tackle to the 20, and that's about all for Kevin Gibson, running for the 2nd consecutive time, close to the 21-yard line for Gibson.
Blue Devils got a good block that time on the right side from Beasley and Becker. They kind of turned their men outside and left a hole for Gibson to run through. Pretty good gain that time.
Gain of 5, and it's 3rd down and 2 for Gage City. 8:16 as the clock turns in the 3rd quarter. No wideouts for Gage City. They're going with a double tight end set. They like the blocking. They're getting up front. Shoemaker under center. Kilgore calls the play. He's going to give to the right halfback, Hank Clayball, churning for yards. He's up to the 26, and he is going to have the first down.
Big block that time by the center, Jason Kilgore. Also the fullback was the first man through the hole. Gibson brushed the man off and gave Clayball some room to run and pick up the first down.
The Devils moved the ball with ease in the first half when they resorted to the double tight end set. They've done the same here in the 3rd quarter to start off their first possession, and they're moving the ball pretty well at that. Shoemaker comes up to the line. The sophomore has performed admirably in the first 2 games. He's got a scoring pattern tonight. 2 tight ends for Gage City. Shoemaker calls the play. He's going to get to the left halfback coming up the middle, and he's close to the 30-yard line. Gain of close to 4 that time for one of the Clayballs, and it was Matt Clayball this time running the football and moving it close to the 30-yard line of the Devils.
Blue Devils just grinding it out, using some clock and moving the ball down the field. What you got to do, PJ.
Gain of 4 for Matt Clayball. He and Hank having a good game from their halfback positions. And Gage City, as Larry said, moving the ball very methodically down the field, but they continue to waste time off the clock. And that's been a big factor so far. They had one drive of 7 minutes in the first half. Shoemaker calls the signals. On the misdirection play, he gives to the left halfback, and he's hitting the backfield for a loss.
Yeah, that Lee kind of smelled that play. They blitzed the linebacker on their left defensive side here and got into the backfield and broke down the interference, and somebody else came from behind to make the tackle.
Loss of 1 for Hank Clayball from the left halfback position. It's 3rd down and 7 for Gage City. Coming into the game for the Devils is number 42. That's Lindsey Fisher, the tight end. And he gives the play to Shoemaker, and the Devils break the huddle with 6 minutes and 20 seconds to play. Gage City with the football resting on the hash mark nearest us on the press box side of Five Star Stadium. Center Jason Kilgore checking the signals with Shoemaker, who's under center. Calls the play, give to the fullback up the middle. Not much yardage for Kevin Gibson, as he'll be lucky to pick up anything. Maybe got back to the line of scrimmage and has a few words for somebody and quickly pulled away wisely by one of the Devil teammates.
I believe somebody may have pulled him down a little bit with a face mask, and the officials didn't catch it in that big pile. But Kevin was a little angry over something. But the Blue Devils did what you got to do there. If they could get this punt off, they did turn the ball over and give it to Lee in pretty good shape. They used up some clock, and now they're going to have to punt.
McBryant will do the kicking. He stands at his own 20 or 19. High snap. He has to leap. He comes down with it. No rush, and he gets off a beautiful punt as it moves Ricketts all the way back to the 30 where he takes it. He's center of the field, 40, and he's hit from behind, tackled at the 45-yard line. The return, that was by David Ramey, who took the ball at his own 30, went up the middle, and picked up about 15 yards. He's going to move it to the Lee 45. Generals take over, 1st and 10, 5:18 to play, third quarter.
Chad Beasley did a good job getting upfield to make the tackle, and a real good punt, but McBryant that time, he almost outpunted his coverage. Gave Ricketts a little room to come back, so Lee, like you said, is going to take over in pretty good field position here.
McBryant's had a pair of good punts after that first one, which was blocked by Lee. And the Generals take over possession, their own 45, 1st and 10. This time the wishbone behind quarterback Jeremy Pendergraft. He's going to roll back and pass, looking. He's hit as he lets go. Man is, did he catch the ball? Let's see. The official says yes, outstanding catch. If we can catch the number of the receiver, look like number 45, the tight end for the Generals, Danny Moore, made a leaping catch with one hand at the Gate City 41-yard line. Outstanding effort by Moore.
Yeah, that's one of those type catches that Virginia High made last week, a one-handed catch. Our defensive back on that side had it played pretty good, and I thought at first the pass was overthrown, but receiver did a good job to bring it in.
15, actually call it 14 as we're down to the 41-yard line of Gate City. Pendergraft, this time with an I formation. Fullback, tailback behind him, wide out and flanker to his left. He calls the signals, gets to the tailback, hit at the line of scrimmage, barreling forward along the left hash mark for about 2 yards.
Jake Housewright in on the tackle that time, first man to hit the ball carrier, and held on until he got some assistance from a linebacker.
Gain of 2. It's 2nd down and 8 with 4 minutes and 7 seconds left. Third quarter, 21-7 in favor of Gate City. The Devils held the ball most of the third quarter, and Lee took over after getting a punt. Nice pass play to Moore, and the Generals are driving into Gate City territory. Wishbone behind quarterback Pendergraft. He's got a fullback and a pair of halfbacks behind him. Wide receivers to this side. It's going to be a quick pass. Pendergraft drops back. It's tipped up and intercepted. This time Matt Claybaugh with his second pick of the game. Tackle from behind at the 25. It bounced, looked like off the receiver's hands, and Claybaugh using what has become a practice drill. He tipped the ball up. Claybaugh alertly made the catch, and he's tackled for about no gain. But a nice job of alert defense by Matt Claybaugh and the Gate City secondary.
Our linebackers did a good job too. We kind of dropped back in a little zone with our linebackers in front of that receiver and made the pass harder for him to complete. Made him have to throw it high, and then, like you said, it deflected off his hand, and Matt Claybaugh was right there. That's a big drive stopper for the Blue Devils.
Second interception of the game for the senior, Matt Claybaugh. Second one for Pendergraft as well, having an off game after a stellar performance last week. Matt Claybaugh in motion from right to left. Shoemaker gives to Gibson, big hole. He's up to the 30, up to the 35, dragging tacklers, 40 to the 42, finally tripped up by the ankles by number 3 for Lee, John Hilward. Kevin Gibson dragging people along with him.
That was an excellent play. That was a run and play off of the same pass play that we threw for a touchdown. We put the back in motion and same side of the field, and then Gibson did a heck of a job there by picking up big yardage on the play.
Gibson had 74 yards last week against Virginia High. He's racked up a large total tonight as well. The running game has been key for Gate City tonight. They've used the run to set up the pass, and they've worked the run to perfection. Pair of backs set side by side. Matt Claybaugh in motion, left to right, wide out to the left side. Shoemaker on a delay handoff. Gibson, not much running room along the left side, and he may be dropped for a loss.
Got a couple of new players checked into the offensive line for the Blue Devils. Reed is in at right guard, and Lane is in at the left guard spot, trying to give Beasley and Johnson a little rest since they're both going both ways, offensively and defensively.
Nick Colibro has tried to get some new faces into the game because he realizes depth will become a key issue as the season wears on, especially with the type of game Gate City runs. They like to have a lot of running plays, so it can take a toll on your team, and Nick Colibro trying to get some fresh faces to build some depth. It's worked so well so far. The line has done a good job. A Shoemaker calls the play with a pair of running backs set side by side behind him. He calls the signals. He's going to take it himself, rolling out to the left side, tucks it under, and is hit for a loss by the Generals. Looks like number 15 of Lehigh, and that's David Ramey coming up from the secondary. Shoemaker looking a little indecisive. Looked like he wanted to pass, then he wanted to run. He kept it, and Ramey sacked him for a loss.
Yeah, it looked like we might have had them outnumbered on that side with receivers, but at the defensive line, or at the line of scrimmage, they had us outnumbered when we ran to that side. So Shue may have done the best thing. I was watching him, not watching downfield. He may have just ate the ball to keep from having a turnover.
Loss of probably 1 yard. It's 3rd down and 11 with 1 minute and 26 seconds to play until the end of the 3rd quarter. Gate City leads Lehigh 21-7 at Five Star Stadium, Lee's home stadium. Gate City on a 3rd down situation, a wide out set to this side. Shoemaker calling the signals, dropping straight back to pass, looking downfield, looking, fires. He's got a man open. McClellan behind the secondary, catches the ball at the 20, and he's tackled at the 17. Great job by Matt McClellan as the pass was underthrown. He came back to the 20 and made the catch. Matt McClellan giving Gate City a 1st down deep in Lee territory.
He adjusted to that pass well. Like you said, it was underthrown. Shoemaker hung it up. The defender had no idea where the football was at, and McClellan did, and that was the difference in the completion. Matt came back to the football, made a good catch, and that gets the Devils out of the big hole.
McClellan had a big catch last week against Virginia High on the 2nd scoring drive for Gate City. He caught a pass and took it down to the 6 to set up a touchdown run by Kevin Gibson. McClellan is quite dangerous as a receiver in addition to a kicker, so he's a versatile player for the Devils, who are now at the 17-yard line of the Generals. T backfield behind the sophomore Shoemaker. Calls the signals, gives to the fullback around the right end. He's to the 7, to the 6, and tripped up and down at about the 6-yard line. Kevin Gibson moving deeper into Lee territory.
The tackle that time was made by the other Ricketts brother, the one that plays more defense than offense. That's Brian Ricketts on the tackle. Gibson did a good thing that time, I thought, but I thought the man was going to hit him on the same side that he had the ball on, and he had taken both hands away from the football. But he held on as the tackle was made, and Blue Devils seem to be in pretty good shape, PJ. If they can put this thing in the end zone here, I believe we're in good shape.
Gibson heads to the Gate City sideline. Maybe some equipment problems or something wrong as the official signal for a referee's timeout, and someone comes into the game to replace Kevin Gibson at fullback. Looked like we'll see who it was that came into the game. Anyway, Gate City has the football as the quarter is about to wind down. 2-1, and that does it. Into 3 periods at Five Star Stadium in Ben-Hur, Lee County, trailing Gate City 21-7. Devils 1 quarter away from their first ever win at Lee. While we have a moment, I want to tell you about some sponsors who have enabled us to bring you Big Blue football on Channel 30, including Roberts Tire and Recapping, specializing in quality tires like Firestone and Michelin. By People's Bank of Gate City, featuring half-a-day hours on Saturday and a drive-up ATM. By Magnolia Place, where you'll find the perfect gift. Discover the charm of Magnolia Place. By Weber City Drug Center, a dependable source for all your prescription needs. By Nations Bank, with an ATM at the Weber City office and no closing costs on private lines of credit. By Weber City Coin Laundry, Deli and Tanning, full-service laundry, sandwiches, and homemade soups. By Williams Heating and Air Conditioning. Experience the comfort of a Carrier heat pump today. By Delegate Terry Kilgore, proud to represent the 1st District in the Virginia Legislature. By State Line Graphics, from business and personal stationery to printing, screen printing. For the best in printing, come to State Line Graphics. And by King Ford, offering a full line of new and used cars for quality vehicles. Now's a great time to visit King Ford. Blue Devil football is also brought to you by the Campus Drive-In, by Willis Pharmacy, by Scott Jewelers, by Gate City Drug, by Michael Carrico, candidate for Commonwealth's attorney, and by Doc Whitley, Nationwide Insurance. Thank you to all the sponsors who help us bring you Blue Devil football on Channel 30. We start the final 12 minutes at Five Star Stadium with Gate City now moving from right to left. They have the football at the general 7-yard line. Sophomore Josh Shoemaker has done a marvelous job of conducting the offense tonight. He calls the signals with a T backfield, going to give to the fullback, Kevin Gibson, barreling off right tackle for maybe 2 yards, very hard-earned yards, and the clock is stopped as I think the senior fullback for Gate City has picked up a 1st down.
Yeah, I believe the Devils are going to have it 1st and goal inside the 5, PJ, and that's pretty good little run there. You only pick up 2 yards, but he had to bounce off of about 3 people just to gain those 2 yards.
As Larry said, 1st down and goal to go for Gate City at the general 5-yard line. This game, if it stays the way it is, could be an upset. The Kingsport Times-News resoundingly picked Lee to beat Gate City. The Bristol Herald-Courier picked the Devils, so maybe a toss-up, and I think this might raise some eyebrows in Southwest Virginia. Anyway, it's the Devils with Shoemaker under center. He's going to roll out to his right under heavy pressure. Lost it toward the end zone. It is incomplete. Intended for one of the Devil receivers in the corner of the end zone. Looked like it was Gibson, the fullback.
Ball tipped down by Ricketts
And Ricketts, the defender, tipping the ball away.
I believe it may be intended for the tight end on that side, Lindsey Fisher.
Looks like it was Lindsey Fisher who checked into the game, and he's going to come back out on the field. Gate City has featured 2 tight ends in the offense for a majority of the plays tonight. They started off slowly on their first possession. They went 3 plays and then punted. Since then, Gate City has been dominating the line of scrimmage. The MVP award, if there is one, could go to the Gate City offensive line. They've opened many holes for the backs tonight. And Shoemaker calls the play with a power eye backfield. Gives to the fullback up the middle, and he's down to the 2-yard line along the right hash mark on the far side of the field.
Some big trap blocks that time, like you said, but those offensive linemen, Oaks, Matt Johnson, Kilgore, Beasley, Sean Becker, those guys right in the middle of that line did a heck of a job that time. Big hole, PJ. I could have run through there.
Kevin Gibson moving the football to the 1-yard line. The Devils 3 feet away from making this a 27-7 game with 10 minutes and 49 seconds. Devils late in getting to the line of scrimmage, having to hurry the play. Power eye with a halfback set to the left side. That's the power side. Give the fullback up the middle. Touchdown, Gate City. Kevin Gibson puts the Blue Devils up 27-7 with a 1-yard touchdown burst. And Gate City has taken a 20-point lead with 10 minutes and 37 seconds to play in the fourth quarter.
Tell you, PJ, I give a couple of people credit for making some blocks that wasn't in there. Let's give the people that's due the credit. Reed's still in, and Lane are both still in that offensive line, and they stepped in like a couple of veterans and Johnson and Beasley and did their job. So they opened up the holes, and not Johnson and Beasley.
And the senior kicker, McClellan, can make it a 28-7 bulge if he can make the PAT. Snap is up, kick is blocked, and the Generals will let it die. That's the end of the play. You cannot return a blocked kick in high school ball, and McClellan's string of successful PATs for the season is snapped as he misses his first one of the 1994 campaign. I believe that was, he made 3 in the first game, 2 in the second game, and he made 3 previous ones. So there's 8 PATs he's made this year, 8 in a row, and the first miss of the 1994 season. But Gate City on the 1-yard touchdown run by Kevin Gibson, the senior fullback, leads 27-7, and they are putting on an offensive exhibition of ground control here on the Generals' home turf.
Yes, they are, PJ. You know, I'm really impressed with the way they played. It seems like whichever side of this team, if there is a side each week that doesn't play as well as the other side, they rebound the next week and play better. That PAT that time, we just didn't. It was a good snap, but the holder didn't get the ball down for McClellan, and he really didn't have a chance. It would have been a miracle if he had been able to kick the football.
These two teams entered the game as 2 of the top 4 teams in Southwest Virginia. Lee ranked as number 3, Gate City number 4. And if the course stays the same throughout the fourth quarter, you can be sure the Devils will move on up tonight. The top 2 teams in Southwest Virginia, by the way, number 1, Richlands, number 2, Lebanon. So both teams that Gate City has on the schedule this season. Devils will kick off from the 40-yard line, and the Generals will receive. Wilder is back at his own 3-yard line. Devils kicking from right to left. This time a high rolling kick, and it's taken off the chest of the Lee return man at the 7, up to the 15, and he's down by a host of Devils at the 17-yard line.
Good play that time by this kickoff coverage team. Some young Blue Devils and a couple of seniors who don't get to play very much downfield to make some tackles this time. So this kickoff coverage team is also a real important bunch of guys, too. They've got a job to do. Louis Bowl was one of the people down that time on the tackle, I believe. And so, you know, everybody has their job to do, PJ. The kickoff coverage team, the punt coverage team are just as important as your offense and your defense.
The Generals now trailing by 20 points with just over 10 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. High formation behind Pendergraft. He's got wide receivers set to either side, and he's going to roll straight back to pass. Looking, he's got good protection now, flush from the pocket, running to the near side. He's collared, breaks a tackle, and is hit and tackled from behind at the 27-yard line. Going to be a pickup of close to 8 yards on the scramble by Jeremy Pendergraft, who gets up slow after taking a fierce hit in the back.
Matt Johnson and Brian Burke on the tackle that time. Evidently, the Devil defense did a good job covering. The defensive backs did a good job. They made him pull the ball down and have to run, and our linebackers finally got to him after a good gain. It's going to be close to a first down here, PJ. They're going to measure.
9 minutes and 41 seconds to play in the game. Gate City 27-7 over Lee. The Devils have never won here at Five Star Stadium. This could be the first time tonight as the chain gang now trying to determine if Pendergraft had enough for the first down, and he's short by about half a yard. So it'll be 2nd and inches for the Generals. Ball is resting at, let's see, they finally put it down right at the 27-yard line. He needs to get to the 27 and a half, it looks like. Well, the first 2 weeks of the season, Gate City saw a pair of different attacks against Lebanon. They saw a fierce ground game last week, a pretty good passing game for Virginia High. Tonight, in what was supposed to be an explosive passing game, the Devils have stopped both aspects of the offense, running and passing of the Generals. Now Gate City with 4 down linemen, a linebacker to the near side. Pendergraft dropping straight back. Now he's going to tuck it and run up the middle to the 30, and he's hit and knocked down at the 32-yard line. Tackle made by number 65 for Gate City, and that is Chad Beasley from his linebacker position.
That was almost like a quarterback draw, but I do believe he had pace on his mind because he had enough people coming out on pace routes, and it just opened up in the middle. When our linebacker went with her tight end, it opened the hole up in the middle.
Enough for the first down as he only needed about half a yard. 1st and 10 for the Generals, just over 9 minutes. Ball at their own 32. Gate City with 5 down linemen, actually 4 and a linebacker. Pendergraft dropping back. He passes over the middle, complete. And the receiver is hit it just as he makes the catch. It was Chester Riggs making the grab at about the 45-yard line. He hit immediately as he makes the grab. Riggs had a big game last week, over 120 yards receiving. He's been quiet tonight. That's his first reception and the first completion for Jeremy Pendergraft.
Joey McBride was the safety that came up and made the closing tackle on that, and Joey laid a pretty good lick into Mr. Riggs that time.
Ball resting at the 46 of Lee. The Generals moving left to right, I backfield, tailback and fullback behind the quarterback Pendergraft. Wide out to this side, flanker to the left. Pendergraft rolling back, looks over the middle, and it's complete to number 3. He breaks a tackle, and he's down to the 35 of Gate City. Reception by John Hilburn, a senior split in. He broke a tackle at the Gate City 40, and he's down to the 31. Hilburn with a nice grab, and the Generals finally moving the ball after being stagnant for 3 quarters.
They've done a little something with their offensive line blocking, PJ. We're not able, or haven't been able to get to him in this second half like we did in the first half. And when you give him time, he can throw the ball.
Pendergraft picked the strong Graham defense apart for over 200 yards passing last week. We have a timeout on the field. Bill Housewright, the defensive coordinator, out trying to rally his troops up. They played well since giving up the initial touchdown to Lee. They shut the Generals out in the second and third quarters, but finally Lee mounting a drive here in the fourth. 27-7, Gate City leads it.
You know, just by looking at Coach Housewright's manner there, I don't know where he's trying to rev them up or chastise them, PJ, but he's trying to get his point across, and whatever it takes to stop these Generals is what the Blue Devils need to do.
This is, if you look at the team as a whole for Gate City, both offense and defense, you might say this is the no-name team because you don't have the superstar that maybe you've had in the past at quarterback, at running back, at linebacker. Matt Johnson, perhaps the most notable player in the media, but really this is a team of quiet contributors for Gate City, a very blue-collar type team. They go out, they know what they need to do, and they get the job done. And I think Nick Collinbro has really respected that from the Devil team this year.
Oh, I do too. He's really bragged on the way they work in practice, PJ.
Lee comes out of the huddle with an I formation, and Pendergraft dropping straight back, looks to his left, under pressure, fires toward the end zone, man open, and it is caught. Touchdown Lee. Making the sliding grab for the Generals was number 88, and that's Chester Riggs. He had a big game last week, and he catches a 33-yard touchdown pass from Jeremy Pendergraft, and the Generals have cut the lead 27-13.
Well, with long pace plays like that, you can get back in the ballgame pretty quick. McBride did a pretty good job staying with Riggs until about the last 5 yards, and he kind of eased out about a yard ahead of him, and the pace was right on the money, and wasn't a whole lot you could do.
Now the point after touchdown attempt to be tried by John Hilborn, the place kicker for the Generals. Here's a snap a little bit high. The kick is up and it's blocked by the Devils. So Gate City answers the Lee block of Matt McClellan's point after kick by blocking the attempt of John Hilborn. And we stay at 27-13, 8:22 left in the game.
That's a big point, PJ. That means if they score, if they are lucky enough to come back and score 2 touchdowns and we don't score anymore, then they've got to go for 2 just to tie, if my math is right, I believe. So a big play there. It looked like they had a high snap on the PAT, and the Blue Devils were able to get some pressure in and block.
Larry, we saw in the first game of the season against Lebanon, Gate City took the lead. Then they came out and they were in the middle of a time-consuming drive. They had moved the ball down into Lebanon territory. Then they had a turnover. That's the type of drive I'd say Gate City needs right now. One of those ball-control, time-consuming efforts to really move the clock down as close to 0 as they can get it.
Yeah, minus the turnover. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it is. This is going to fire Lee up, being able to come back, and you can kind of understand psychologically how Gate City might have been a little down after going up with 3 touchdowns. So this turned into a pretty good ball game here with 8:22 to go, plenty of time left.
So the Generals will kick off from their 40-yard line. Gate City in the they'll be moving from right to left. Back to receive the Claybaugh. Matt Claybaugh is toward the far sideline. Hank Claybaugh to the near sideline. Maybe an onside kick. Let's see as the Lee Generals shift most of their players. In fact, they shift 8 of them to the far side of the field. Here comes the kick. It is an onside kick. It looked like a Lee player touched it before it went 10 yards. We'll see how the officials rule on that. But I believe a Lee player touched it after it had gone about 7 yards.
I see no flags on the play, though. I see a beanbag marker, but no flags. But the Blue Devils come up with the ball anyhow, and that's a break for Gate City.
So they're going to mark it exactly after 7 yards after the Generals kicked it off. So it looks like Gate City will take over at about the... Well, they've got 2. Now they're going to change it. They had the ball originally at the 47 of Gate City. Now they move it to the 47 of Lee. They will say that one of the Generals touched the ball after it had gone only 7 yards. And Gate City takes over at the 47 in Lee territory.
You know, that's kind of unusual to gamble on the onside kick with that much time to go. But I suppose that he thought with his quick strike offense that if he could get it back right now and hammer another score in, it might take the wind out of the Devils' sail.
This is a big possession for Gate City. They need to work some time off the clock. Shoemaker with a T formation gives to the fullback. Gibson breaks a tackle. He's up to the 43, 42, and spun down close to the 40-yard line. Nice hard running by Gibson, moving close to the 40 of Lee.
Good play that time by Gibson, and some more good blocking on the right side of the Devils' offensive line. That one turnover, not necessarily a turnover, the inability to come up with the onside kick could really be the downfall of Lee here as this game rolls on toward its conclusion.
Clock ticking down, 7 minutes and 24 seconds before the end of the game. Shoemaker under center. Tight ends on either side of the offensive line and 3 running backs behind Shoemaker. Gives to the right halfback. That looks to be Matt Claybaugh over right tackle up to the 35. And he's going to be stopped actually after he picks up the first down. Nice job of running and nice blocking by the Gate City line. Larry, you've said it tonight a lot of times, but they're doing a wonderful job of simply pushing the Generals back and opening some big holes.
Well, once he was tackled that time, he ended up on the back of Big Beasley, Chad Beasley, that far downfield. So, he was just on his hip, and Beasley, along with Becker on that side, did a good job to open the hole up.
The Generals don't feature as much size as they did in the past with the likes of Richard Lighton, so they're a bit smaller, and Gate City using that as an advantage tonight. Shoemaker, again, giving to the right back. It's Matt Claybaugh picking up maybe 2 yards up the middle as the Devils keep the ball on the far hash mark near the far sideline. 6 minutes and 40 seconds to play left in the fourth quarter. Gate City leads it 27-13.
Every running back that's come out of the backfield since we got the ball back here, PJ, has come out with both arms wrapped around the football. So, Lee's trying to strip the football away, and the Blue Devils are just trying to hold on and let the clock run on down.
Another score could very well ice this game as we're winding down into the final stages of the fourth quarter. The Devils featuring the T formation for the most of the night, and Shoemaker's under center with a pair of tight ends on either side. He's going to give to the left halfback. Hank Claybaugh cuts back to the middle of the field, and he's got a first down for Gage City. The Devils methodically moving the chains down the field and also moving the clock closer to the end of the game.
I'll tell you somebody else we haven't given a whole lot of credit to tonight. Of course, that's not unusual for me, but the tight ends in this straight T formation, Ford and McClellan, have done a real good job. That time they ran off of Ford's end on the right side, and Becker and Ford were the people on that side of the lineup that did a good job blocking. That time it made that play work.
The Lehigh boosters and crowd are traditionally known as a lively bunch, but right now there is an eerie silence over the home stands at Five Star Stadium as the Devils are moving the football at will against the home team Generals. Shoemaker calls the signals, left halfback, straight ahead. Hank Claybaugh maybe 2 yards as he gets to the 22-yard line, and the clock still runs.
Becker and Johnson downfield 5 yards blocking people. This offensive line, if it continues to play the way it has tonight, they're going to be rough on some people, I believe.
Devils facing 2nd down and 6 to go. Looking at their 6th play of the drive. They took over at the Lee 47 on the botched onside kick, and they've moved the ball since. Clock showing 5 minutes. Shoemaker under center with 8 men on the line. He gets to the fullback who barely got by a tackler, and he's met in the backfield by another Lee defender and dropped for a loss.
Yeah, a senior quarterback at that, at that time might call an audible right there with all those people bunched right up on the line of scrimmage, because you're lucky, like you said, to get the handoff off. They had 2 people coming right over top of center, and we were lucky to hold on to the football. But the clock's still running. That's what counts.
Devils driving from right to left toward the checkerboard end zone. That pattern featured on both end zones here at Five Star Stadium. Gage City looking at the scoreboard. They're driving toward that end of the field with 4 minutes and 20 seconds and a 27-13 lead. Devils in search of their first ever win at Five Star Stadium and their 2nd win of the year in the Highlands. Shoemaker under center. He's going to give to the fullback. Gibson is wrapped up, and not much yardage for the senior, maybe 1 yard if he's lucky. It's going to be 4th down.
Well, I'm kind of anxious to see what we might do here. We tried a 51-yard field goal last week with a 14-point lead. We got a 14-point lead here, and I see the kick and tee coming in. So McClellan will get an opportunity here to try another field goal. And I think that's a good move on Coach Caldero's part. He's a young man that some people are looking at, has a real good leg, and why not give him an opportunity right here? This going to be spotted on the 29, would be a 39-yard field goal.
That's probably within McClellan's range. Snap is a little high. Kick is low. It's at the line drive. Don't think he got a good spot. And the ball finally came down in the end zone. So a line drive kick, and McClellan misses the field goal attempt. The Generals come back on the field with their offense with 3 minutes and 25 seconds left in the game. And the Lehigh Generals trailing by 14 against Gate City.
Well, everybody's entitled to one mistake. I believe in all the years that I've seen Matt, that was probably one of the worst kicks I've seen him make. But everything's got to click right, and Lee came with a lot of pressure, and they didn't really have an opportunity, I don't think, to get the ball down good on the tee, and he may have rushed his kick a little bit too.
The Generals will take over on their own 20-yard line. They have wideouts to each side and a pair of backs set side by side behind Jeremy Pendergraft, and he's blitzed. He has his arm hit, and they're going to say he passed. Jeremy Pendergraft went back to pass there to put intense pressure on. The quarterback was number 42, Lindsey Fisher, and he hit Pendergraft's right arm just as the Lee quarterback was delivering the ball. It fell incomplete.
It came through untouched. Fisher did that time, and like you said, he almost was able to slap the ball out of his hand, but his forward motion, the quarterback's forward motion and Fisher's motion going the other way just knocked his arm away from the football.
The incomplete pass stopped the clock at 3 minutes and 22 seconds left in the game. Lee at their own 20-yard line. High formation and a miscommunication in the backfield. The tailback eventually ends up with the ball, and he goes to the 22. Pendergraft was going to hand off to the tailback, who ran into Pendergraft, and the miscommunication and the botched play resulted in 2 yards for the Generals, keeping it on the ground, trailing by 14.
Fisher also made that play. He lined up that time at a linebacker spot and came across and made the tackle.
And Lee uses its first timeout of the second half. And the quarterback, Pendergraft, and the tight end for the Generals, number 45, Danny Moore, will come to the sidelines and talk things over with head coach Alan Kinzer. Well, Larry, if you're Gage City's coaching staff, you have to feel pretty good about the performance tonight. They played well on defense, as is usual. But the offense, great ball control effort tonight.
Oh, I think they've done a good job on both sides of the football. This Wishbone offense is a tough offense to stop defensively, and Gate City has done a pretty good job by holding the lead to 13 points. And naturally, when I did my math a while ago in my head, I was wrong. I could see they could score 2 touchdowns and go for 2 points and would have a chance to win. But yeah, I think it's one of probably the best game that they played all the way around. So with a young team, and if you gain experience week in and week out, then you should get a little better each game, and I think they've gotten a little better each game so far.
This should be a big momentum builder heading in to a tough 4-game homestand. Defensive coordinator Bill Houseright trotting off the field as he finishes speaking with his Blue Devil team. And now the Generals with 3rd down and 8, the ball at their own 22. Pendergraft with a single setback behind him. Quick pitch to the left side, and the back is up to the 28, across the 30. Fumbles the football. Gate City recovers. And if anything else could go wrong for Lee tonight, it just did, as the running back couldn't see who it was. Fumbled the football after gaining about 6 or 7 yards, and the Devils recover at the lead, 39.
Well, I'll tell you who hit him and made him fumble. I think big Chad Beasley, along with Benny Wolf on that side, and maybe Matt Claybaugh were the 3 people that hit him and caused the fumble. I think Beasley hit him from behind, and that was a big turnover for Lee, and that's one thing that they've been ahead of us in all night, PJ. They've been ahead of us in turnovers, thank goodness.
We talked early in the broadcast about the importance of Gate City holding the football. Lee's had 4 turnovers, a pair of fumbles, and a pair of interceptions. And Gate City, with the clock running, can wind down this game with a good drive here. Shoemaker will give to the fullback. Gibson up the middle. He's got 3. He's got 4. And Hammer down to the ground at the 35. Clock turning at 2:20. Gain of 4 yards.
Got some new running backs in there. Got the second team offense in there with McBride at quarterback. Green was the fullback that time. Houseright the tight end. He's going out. McMurray was in for a play, and Coach Collibo's getting a lot of new people, a lot of new faces in here to give him a little bit of experience.
So Joey McBride, the senior, calling the signals at quarterback now. The Devils stay with that T formation, and 9 players on the line of scrimmage for the Generals. They blitz to give us to number 44 off the right tackle. Gain of close to the 1st down for Chris Green, having a great game in his 2nd carry. Green is a youngster that many people in Gate City are very high on. He's got some good mobility, got some good speed, and that time he turned in a bruising run for the 1st down.
Young man that moved in here, I believe, PJ, from the North Carolina area in the past couple of years ago. Came out for baseball down there, and we took a look at him and said, that young man's definitely got a body to play football. Wonder if he does.
He's 5'11", 178 pounds, and only a sophomore. He'll have 2 more varsity years for the Devils. Here's McBride with 2 tight ends on either side, calling the signal. He's going to give to the right halfback across the 25 up to the 24-yard line. Running the ball for Gate City, number 8, Ed Britt. Britt, a freshman for the Devils. And the clock winding down, 1:15. Gate City will earn its first ever victory at Five Star Stadium, but not before Lee calls timeout with 1 minute and 8 seconds left. Gate City leads the Generals 27-13.
A very good performance, as we talked all the way through, PJ, both you and I, on both sides of the football for the Blue Devils. Offensively, I think they've done an excellent job. Like you said, if you could give probably a MVP award, it would go to the offensive line. I think they definitely controlled the line of scrimmage. The defensive line hadn't done a bad job. They've pretty much controlled the line of scrimmage on the running plays from Lee. So all the way across, these kids have done a good job. It speaks well for the coaching staff, as it always has. I think we have one of the best coaching staffs in Southwest Virginia, East Tennessee area. I think we have a group of young men that really work. They put in a lot of hours, and I tell you what, until you get around and talk to some of these coaches, you don't realize just what all goes on to make this possible on Friday night. Going out and practicing is not all of it. I mean, there's towels to wash, there's uniforms to wear, there's a whole lot of things, and most of these coaches don't get away on any night during the week, probably don't get away before 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And people don't realize how much time coaches actually put in. If they made a lot of money like maybe college or professional coaches, so you might say, well, that's part of the job. But boys, these guys, they earn every penny they make, and I guarantee you it's not big money.
Coaches in the high school level, for the most part, are there for the love of the game and for the love of the players that they coach. I think if you ask any high school coach, he'll tell you the biggest advantage of being a high school coach is being able to work with young people. Gate City with the football, minute 1 to play in the game, and McBrien calling the signals. He's going to get to the left halfback. Not much running room, and dropped for a loss is number 45, Jason McMurray. Dropped for about a 5-yard loss, and Lee will take its final timeout of the game.
You know, one thing tonight, PJ, that I don't believe we've had on the Blue Devil side of the football is a penalty. We haven't had a penalty all night. That's something that I'm sure they worked on this week, because we stopped a couple of drives last week and with penalties, and we've worked on our discipline over top of the football, and we've done a real good job. So this has been a well-prepared group of young men that have executed about as well as they could in a hostile environment where they haven't ever won a football game before. I didn't know I could say that much at one time.
Well, Gate City will actually move to 2-1 on the year. And next week they'll be at home facing Marion. Kickoff at 7:30 p.m. Friday night in Legion Field. You can catch the game live audio portion here at Channel 30. Of course, the replay of this game will be seen tomorrow on Channel 30 on Saturday as the Devils come to the line. 53 seconds left in the game. And this, probably about 2 more plays will do it. McBride rolling out. He'll keep it himself around the right end. Picks up some room and is tripped and tumbles to the ground close to the 23-yard line, and Lee cannot stop the clock anymore in the game. The Generals fall to 1-2 on the season and 0-1 in the Highlands District. Gate City will go to 2-0 in the Highlands District, and they'll be all by themselves in first place because nobody else has played 2 games in the district yet. So the Devils, in what may be a surprise to some in the area, in first place in the Highlands District, and they came in and beat a very strong Lehigh team. 27-13, they lead with 21 seconds to play. The clock is stopped, and Nick Colibro is a bit angry about that. It looked like the official stopped the clock because somebody had an equipment problem, or maybe somebody got hurt for the Generals, and now number 10 of Lee, Brandon Johnson, will head to the sidelines. The Devils were just about ready to take the field for a celebration when the officials signaled timeout. But this should be, in all rights, the last play of the game.
Well, he did get up slow after that tackle, and if there's any blood at all on that player, he's got to come out. And maybe that official noticed some blood, but like you said, Coach Colibro was ready to do some celebrating. He did a little jig about 10 yards out on the field.
McBride with 2 backs behind him and a wing back, and we're going to have some motion on Gate City, so the clock will stop. McBride keeps himself, and he's close to the first down, and he's tackled out of bounds, and there's going to be a flag, unnecessary roughness on Lee. Joey McBride, the quarterback, kept the ball around the right end. He was pushed out of bounds and then tackled close to the fence on the far sideline. One flag came down early because the wing back on the right side of the play moved for Gate City, but that was a personal foul against the tackler for Lee. And Joey McBride gets up, and thank goodness he's okay. That's the type of penalty you hate to see in high school football.
I'll tell you what, this is a big call. Now, if this player would be ejected for that play, unnecessary roughness, he would also be ineligible for the next game. But now they haven't sent anybody to the sidelines, but that definitely was a flagrant foul over there against the fence, 5 yards Alabama.
9 seconds on the clock, and Gate City with a 27-13 lead will wrap up their second win of the year with this play, barring penalties. As McBride is talking with the officials right now, they'll sort things out. There was a 5-yard motion penalty on Gate City and a 15-yard personal foul, unnecessary roughness on Lee. We'll see what the outcome of the conference is now 4 of the 5, now 5 officials, all of them gather near the far hash mark to discuss the situation. And Nick Colibro keeping tabs on the story from the sidelines as he calls his team over to the sideline right now. Now they're going to stay near the field. Still not sure. Now they give the official indication of the penalty.
Well, I thought for a minute he was going to call offsetting fouls because he said that the offsides on Gate City was declined. Well, Lee's not going to decline that, I don't believe. But Gate City is going to gain yardage on the personal foul.
I believe the personal foul might take precedent over the minor relative to the personal foul infraction. Gate City will have a first down as they have moved the marker on the far sideline to indicate first down. So here's the situation. Gate City's team has gone to the sideline to talk with Nick Colabro. The Generals are ready to break their huddle defensively. The Devils will probably kneel on the football with 9 seconds left, and they have a first down. Well, they may have a chance to score. Well,
Lee's got the football. Yeah, okay. Lee's got the football.
That was a fourth down play. So what happened was Lee took possession, and they marked the infraction off against the Generals yardage-wise. Pendergraft back to pass, hit as he throws the ball. It's intercepted by Gate City, and the defender is along the far sideline, knocked out of bounds to end the game. We have a penalty flag down. We'll see if we can make out who had the interception for the Devils.
Benny Wolf had the interception.
And the ball game is over. Gate City has won for the first time ever at Five Star Stadium, defeating Lehigh 27-13. Gate City 2-0 in the Highlands District, 2-1 overall. Lee 0-1 in the Highlands, 1-2 overall. Larry, just an outstanding effort by the Devils tonight.
Well, I tell you, the most relieved person out there, I bet you, is Coach Colabro. I've never heard him mention it, and I've never heard anybody mention it to him. But anytime that you struggle with streaks where you're undefeated or where you've beaten somebody or they've beaten you, to get that monkey off your back and get that first win against that team on their territory in this situation, it's got to be got to lift a little weight off of Nick's shoulders. Even though I'm sure it doesn't bother him, he prepared his team well and they executed well, and they deserve the victory.
Before we take a look at the final stats for the game, we want to tell you that Gate City Blue Devil football on SVE Cablevision Channel 30 is brought to you by People's Bank of Gate City, featuring half-a-day hours on Saturday and a drive-up ATM. By Magnolia Place, where you'll find the perfect gift. Discover the charm of Magnolia Place. By Weber City Drug Center, a dependable source for all your prescription needs. By Nations Bank, with an ATM at the Weber City office and no closing costs on private line of credit. By Weber City Coin Laundry Deli and Tanning. Full-service laundry, sandwiches, and homemade soups. Also 6 Wolf tanning beds. By Williams Heating and Air Conditioning. Experience the comfort of a Carrier heat pump today. By Delegate Terry Kilgore, proud to represent the 1st District in the Virginia Legislature. By State Line Graphics, from business and personal stationery to the best in screen printing of T-shirts and caps. By King Ford, offering a full line of new and used cars. Now's a great time to visit King Ford. And by Roberts Tire and Recapping, specializing in quality tires like Firestone and Michelin. Blue Devil football is also brought to you by Willis Pharmacy, by Scott Jewelers, by Gate City Drug, by Doc Whitley Nationwide Insurance, and by the Campus Drive-In, also by Michael Carrico, candidate for Commonwealth's attorney. Big win for Gate City here at Five Star Stadium in Ben-Hur. The Devils going back home next week as the final victory celebration can begin as the team huddles near the middle of the field. Gate City hosting Marion next week at Legion Field. Larry Shelton, you have a look at the final game stats.
Yeah, in first downs, Gate City had 18 to Lee's 9. Gate City rushed the ball 46 times for 203 yards. Lee rushed it 25 times for 160. Gate City attempted 13 passes, completed 6 with 1 interception for 125 yards. Lee attempted 9 passes, 4 completions, 3 interceptions for 81 yards. Total offense, Gate City 328 yards, Lee 241 yards. Punts, Gate City had 3 for a 22-yard average. Lee had 2 punts for a 40-yard average. Fumbles, Gate City had 1 and did turn it over. Lee had 3 fumbles and lost all 3. Penalties, Gate City had 0 penalties. Lee had 3 penalties for 35 yards. Turnovers, Gate City 1, Lee 6. So, PJ, some of the things you talked about early, the turnovers we talked about early in the ball game could be the key in this game, and with 6 turnovers, it's hard to beat anybody.
That'll wrap things up from Lee High School's Five Star Stadium in Ben-Hur, Virginia. Again, the final score, Gate City 27, Lee 13. Devils 2-1 on the season. They'll be at Legion Field next Friday night, 7:30 kickoff. You can catch the game live here on Channel 30 and also see the playback. Playback tomorrow of this game will be, I believe, at 10 o'clock a.m. on Channel 30. Tune in to see the game in its entirety on video. Want to thank it.
Also, PJ, we replay it again on Tuesday afternoon at 6:30.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So 2 great chances to catch the game this week. Tuesday at 6:30, tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll do that for all the games throughout the season. Want to thank everybody involved with this broadcast. Special thanks to Larry Shelton. Great job as always. I want to thank Daniel Daugherty and Matt Kritzow, our videographers. Mitch Taylor, our engineer. Great job. Gwen Lane back at the Channel 30 studios. Thanks so much. Thank you for watching. Thanks to our advertisers.